So Gekko's been out for around 2 weeks now, and I have played him almost exclusively to Immortal 3 and slowly working my way towards Radiant. So I figured today I'd share with you guys some of the things I've learned and some quick tips and tricks I've picked up on since I've started playing him. But before we get too far into it, if you guys do find these videos helpful, then please consider leaving a like and subscribing. And if you'd like to see more videos like this in the future, then be sure to let me know in the comments down below, and feel free to leave any ideas you might have. So first, I'm going to be starting off with tips for Dizzy, Gekko's signature ability. Because Dizzy dies to one shot of pretty much any gun, you need to get creative to try and get some value out of her. One of the ways I found to get the most consistent value with Dizzy is to look straight up as high as possible and throw Dizzy straight up. That way she lands right back at your feet at the same spot that you threw it from. On defender side, I generally like to do this from behind a wall somewhere on site that can see the attacker's spawn barrier if possible. That way you can get some quick early info. But another way you can do it is in a post plant situation, for example, you might be able to sit behind a wall in the main of the site that you executed on. And using the same idea, throwing Dizzy straight up, you can just throw it from behind a wall safely, get info on whether the enemies are out, and then pick her back up. Another way to use this as a defender, if you're anchoring a site, just playing back site, you can just throw it straight up. That way it lands at your feet, and you can just repeat this process so you don't have to expose yourself to peek any angles. Another way to increase the likelihood of Dizzy getting value is to throw her at a really high and far off angle. So for example, if you're playing backside and the enemies are executing, throwing it high into the left forces the enemies to move their crosshair from clearing sight. And even if Dizzy doesn't necessarily go off, you can still try and take advantage of the timing that you have in which the enemies are aiming at Dizzy and not you. This is probably the most common way that I use Dizzy, especially when anchoring a site, and I'm sure you guys have seen that a lot in my Gekko videos. So finally, my last tip for Dizzy is to try and combo her with another teammate's utility. So for example, on an execute or retake, don't just throw out Dizzy first, wait for another initiator's or duelist utility to go out with Dizzy. That way they're focused on either one or the other. You can see in this clip here that me and my Sova actually combo our recon dart and Dizzy together, allowing both of our abilities to get value. When do you have dart? We can combo our flash and dart.
15.
Alright.
I have dart now.
I'm gonna flash high.
3, 2.
2 gooped.
I think hell.
Oh, I'm sending a wingman.
One enemy remaining.
This could be late.
That guy's late, yeah.
Late main, late somewhere.
I'm sticking. Oh my god. That was an excellent retake. The combo. So moving on for the Mosh Pit. The main value you're going to be getting out of Mosh Pit is as a zoning ability as opposed to actually getting kills with it. So it's best used on executes to clear corners and common angles, or to stall retakes. And as a defender, it's best used to just buy a few seconds for your team to rotate as opposed to actually trying to get kills with it unless you're comboing it with another ability like an Astra Pull. So moving on to the Wingman, which is probably my favorite ability in Gekko's kit and definitely the most unique. The first tip is when you're attacking and you're using Wingman to plant, you should send in Wingman to plant while you simultaneously take space. And one of the ways I like to do that is play a close angle near the defender's spawn, or push fully into the defender's spawn or some sort of link near their spawn to hold the rotate onto site. This works best if you're doing it right off of a fake, but it's also possible to do this if you've cleared sight. Wingman allows you to get a weird timing where you can be at a spot where the defenders that are retaking aren't going to be expecting you, so it's a good idea to take advantage of it. Another way to use Wingman as an attacker is to have him plant without clearing the site, and that sounds a bit weird, but you can actually send him open to plant, and you can sort of trade him like you would trade one of your teammates. So if there's a weird angle that you can't really clear, or it's hard to get a safe peek on, send in Wingman to plant, force the defenders to peek and kill him, or they have no choice but to let you get the spike down. I can send in Wingman to plant for heaven.
Backside.
We can hold Wingman. Oh shit. I got the guy. I'm planning for heaven.
One more.
Okay, still one site. 2 site. Jet site 2. Now, the obvious downside to this is that if they do kill Wingman and you guys aren't fully out on site yet, then it becomes a mission to retrieve the spike, and so it kind of forces you to commit to that site. But on maps like Icebox, I found that this strat works really well, and it forces people to give up their position from gen or backsite. Wingman is also really good at clearing corners like a Raze Boombot, so you don't always have to use him to plant and defuse. Don't be afraid to use the Wingman as a Boombot and clear out some close corners on an execute, and get aggressive with him and try and trade off the info that you get. So finally, we are moving on to Gekko's ultimate ability, Thrash. And the first one is going to be the biggest tip, and that is going to be reactivate your ult mid jump to pop it early. And I did make a video on this, but basically when you do just a single left click jump with Thrash to try and detain someone, it goes a full jump distance, which is super easy to send too far past the target and miss completely. So what you can do is press left click a second time and reactivate it mid jump to detain earlier so your ult doesn't go too far. Again, this is super useful if you're just trying to detain someone quickly or you're trying to detain someone who is just really close. A lot of the times you're going to be using Thrash on a retake or an execute. So what I like to do is use Thrash to clear out close areas and kind of clear sight and run a path through sight that allows me to easily pick up Thrash again if I don't see anyone. So for an example, as an attacker, if I'm ulting out to clear sight and I don't see anyone on site, I'll bring it close to the main. That way I can grab it again and use it in a post plant instead of sending it too far into a spot like their spawn where I'm definitely not going to be able to grab it again. So even if you aren't detaining anyone, you can still get some pretty good value with your ult if you're using it to clear sight and get that information. So finally, my last tip for Thrash is going to be to bunny hop in your ult to make yourself a harder target. Thrash already moves really fast, but you become an even harder target if you're constantly jumping and air strafing. I personally have jump set to scroll wheel down, so it makes it really easy, and you don't need to hold W while you're in your Thrash. It automatically travels forward, so you can just focus on using A and D to strafe while you jump. So these are going to be my 10 tips and tricks for new players coming to Gekko. I think he's a great starter initiator, so I hope this video helps you learn him a bit faster. I hope you guys enjoyed this video or found it helpful, and it's been a while since I've done a guide like this, but if you would like to see more in the future, then just let me know in the comments down below what you would like to see. I'm open to your guys' suggestions.
So enough to